Hi out there, this is Al Haroon from Mark 16 Ministries, and this is the first video in our video series, The Lives Are Changed. So here's the story of Joseph Rojas and the band Seventh Day Slumber. Now, just in case you don't know anything about this band, I'm just going to expand on who they are and what this whole story is about. Seventh Day Slumber is a four-piece band, very popular on Christian radio and in Christian circles. But this is a very truly unique band because of their approach to their ministry. They've had several #1 songs on Christian rock radio. They've released 3 albums on a record label so far, but in spite of all that, they have this approach where they have a message behind the music that they want people to know. Whenever you're going to go to their shows, you're not only going to see them playing music, but you're going to see the frontman Joseph Rojas telling his testimony, telling his story of how he came to Christ. And this is one of the vital components of this band, how each band member has a story to tell of how God got them through tough times and how they found God in the midst of hopelessness. And it's really these stories and these testimonies that drive the music and the message behind the music and the mission of this band. They're a truly unique band. Their mission is not only for you to listen to the music, but to get something out of their stories, out of the lyrics and the meaning behind the music. And that just makes them truly unique. And today I'm going to be talking about Joseph Rojas and his life story and how he came to know God. So, according to Joseph Rojas' testimony, he was brought up on an Air Force base. His father was in the Air Force. He had a younger brother. Joseph had a younger brother, but from a very early age, Joseph remembers his father being abusive towards his mother and beating her and not being a very good father and being an alcoholic and being constantly in anger and constantly lashing out his anger on his mother, to the point where the mother had to take her two boys and move to Texas, where she worked a minimum paid job just to sustain herself and her 2 children while the 2 children went to school. Now, according to Rojas, this is where things kind of got hard for him. His dad tried to come back into his mother's life, got a dishonorable discharge, and he tried to come back into the life of them and their mother, but she basically kind of didn't want any part of him, and even though he continued to be abusive, she called the authorities, called 911, and had him arrested. And it's from this point on that Rojas recalls not having a father figure in his life, not having someone to love him. He talks about having been deprived of a father figure or a father or the love of a father. And it's from this point on, he says, that he struggled in school, that he didn't feel accepted, he had problems, he was bullied. People teased him because of his skin color, because of his overweight. And he just recalls feeling worthless, feeling neglected, and feeling like he wasn't worth anything and that he wasn't loved. He recalls being beaten by bullies at school. He recalls being teased because of his color, because of his weight. And it's this kind of attitude and these kind of circumstances that led Joseph Rojas into a life of drugs. He remembers starting to take drugs at the age of 14. And he says this kind of made him escape from his problems, made him fit in with other people who were taking drugs and who had similar problems or who had difficult lives. And this was his way of coping with everything. This was all his life was about. He goes on to talk about how he kept on doing this until he was 21. He was a convicted felon. He had been arrested many times for things he had done, and he had. But according to him, by the age of 21, he had become a $400 a day cocaine addict who was an atheist. So let's kind of recap. He's 21, never felt the love of a father, and by the age of 21, he's on $400 a day cocaine, and he's an atheist. And from this point on is where his life changed, and Rojas is very open, and he explains how God changed his life with reckless abandon from this point on. Rojas talks about his circumstances, and he explains in most of his testimonies that by the time he was 21, he just wanted to die. He felt worthless. He felt like he had no purpose on this earth. And so he decided to overdose on cocaine. He was living with his mother in her house, and one day he just laid a bunch of cocaine across the table, and he started to overdose on it. He wanted to kill himself. He felt like he would be better off dead. People in his life, his mother, his brother, would be better off without him. But what he explains is that as he began to overdose, and he felt to his knees clutching his heart as it started to hurt, his mom walked in through the door at the same time, and she saw her son kind of collapsing on the floor, overdosing on cocaine, and she quickly called an ambulance. And according to Joseph Rojas, as he was being taken to the hospital, in the ambulance, he started to feel the strong presence come upon him. He literally describes it as the power of God coming upon him. And he talks about how for the first time in his life, he felt like he had been picked, like he knew the love of the Father, as he felt God's presence, as he felt God's Spirit come upon him, and God's love begin to change him right there and then. He felt a presence like he had never felt before. And for the first time, he knew that God was real, and he called out to Jesus Christ as he felt his presence. And he accepted him into his life. From this point on, Rojas goes on to talk about how he eventually got over his drug addiction. He went to Bible college for a year, formed the band Seventh Day Slumber, and to this day he is in music ministry, propelling forward the message of Christ and the redemption found in him. And even through the hard times, that you can trust in Christ, and that his own personal testimony, his own life, is testament to the fact that God can meet you wherever you are. And that's what Seventh Day Slumber is all about. It's about 4 guys who've come a long way, particularly Rojas, from being an atheist who was a drug addict, who wanted to die and overdose on cocaine to the point of I'm just going to finish off by providing some links, which you're going to find to the right of your screen in the More section, where I'm going to put up a bunch of links to the Seventh Day Slumber MySpace website, their forums, some other links to for you to read about Seventh Day Slumber and Joseph Rojas. And I'm just going to finish off here very quickly with a quote from Rojas himself at the end, a very powerful quote, what he has to say about things. This is Rojas. All I can say about God is he's not necessarily found in history books or in articles. God has to be experienced. You'll never get it. You'll never fully understand what I'm talking about here unless you give it a shot and experience him. I have experienced him. I don't have any explanations. I'm no theologian, but I know that God is absolutely real. I've met Jesus and he changed my life. Jesus did something that many rehabilitation centers could not do. He did something that all of the counseling sessions in the world could not do. He did something that all the money in the world could not do. I'm telling you right now that I'm a brand new man because of Jesus Christ. I'm living proof that Jesus is alive today. So there you have it. A man with a history of pain, drug addiction, atheism, not believing in a God, and he is a new creation today in Jesus Christ. The lives are changed. Lives are being changed thanks to Jesus Christ. And as we continue this video series, you're going to get to see more of this, hopefully. And this is all for now, the first video. Hope you enjoyed it. Talk to you later.
Saturate my mind with memories of the only one who ever loved me, and everything in time will fade away.